Welcome to Therabytes, where we bring you bite-sized episodes, each one a piece of the puzzle that helps to explain the therapy world, the research behind it all, and how it relates to families. Hello, my name is Dr. Dana Poole. I'm a physiotherapist and the clinical lead at the Healthy Strides Foundation. It is my privilege to be hosting this podcast, one that is directed for parents of children with neurodisabilities. We hope to be able to answer some of your questions through this format. But to navigate our way through these big questions, we have the one and only, the lovely Naresha co-hosting this podcast. Welcome, Naresha.
Thanks, Dana. Another great morning.
Another great morning indeed.
To continue our conversation from last week, it was basically, I think we were covering diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that moving forward from that, even though my understanding of diagnosis is now totally different, in the fact that I took the diagnosis as the be-all and end-all. However, after our conversation, I've concluded that it's actually a time, even though it was a devastating time when it was delivered, it's kind of now my understanding of being at the beginning of a journey to understanding the condition and injury.
Yes.
But finding the solutions for my child's best life.
Yeah. And the diagnosis is just the beginning, but it's not the end.
Correct.
Yeah, I love that conversation. It was really good.
Which was really nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good recap. And, I know you have another burning question for me today, and I'm looking forward to discussing it. But as usual, I love to be able to share some new research that's just hit the ground in all different areas, I think, that affect our life, because that's the whole idea of research, right? It's to hopefully improve our lives. And this one, when I read it, I thought, ooh, this makes sense, and I'm going to do this one. So some researchers recently published in the Journal of Sleep Research and found that the human body, even whilst it's asleep, is not entirely disconnected from the external world. The researchers found that our heart rates actually respond to different types of words that we hear when we're sleeping. So when we hear relaxing words, it causes us to calm down. Our heart rate activity actually reflects a deeper state of sleep compared to neutral words. Isn't that really interesting? And I thought if you could have someone or have a recording of nice, relaxing words, you could have deeper sleep, which is what this study implies.
Sounds true.
Yeah.
I sit on my massage chair. Luckily, I have a massage chair to take out the downtime. Yeah. But I find that when I sit on that and I have Oriental music with water droplets, it zonks me out. And you know what? When you wake up, even though you slept probably maybe 10 minutes, but it just feels
refreshing.
And it's been like you've slept a couple of hours. Yeah, so that's a great finding.
Yeah, so we must always be speaking nice, calm words. And when you think about it for our kids, you can just imagine, as your kids are falling asleep and you're saying nice and relaxing things about them, they'll probably have a deeper state of sleep as well. And I don't know, I think there's a lot to it. I've always thought there must be some connection, and the science is really showing that, which is really awesome.
That's very interesting.
Really cool. Anyway, that was my little bit of did you know that kind of information. But how about we launch into what we're here to actually talk about today?
Sure. So we left from the diagnosis side of things, and now I want to step into treatments.
Great place to go to.
Right.
Okay.
So my little boy currently treated with 6 monthly Botox treatments.
Okay.
With his lower limbs. He has 2 types of medication. Both are for muscle relaxants and to help with his muscle spasms, stiffness, and obviously just pain management. But is there anything else out there?
I think it's always good to look at everything in combination. Yeah. So I guess let's look at there from the first place with the kinds of treatments that you do have. And a lot of the things that you mentioned, so you mentioned botulinum toxin, you also mentioned physio, OT and speech.
Correct.
So let's break that down a little bit more, I suppose, because physio is very broad. You can have lots of different approaches, same as OT and same with speech and where they actually fit in the grand scheme of things.
Yep.
I think the most important thing of where we want to start with, and we covered this last time in brief, was just you always must have a goal, because the goal can really really lead you down the path of, well, why are we doing what we're doing?
True.
And a really good place to start when we figure out why we're doing what we're doing is this whole traffic light system. And some people might have heard of the traffic light system before, not just when you're driving your car, but it's very important when you're driving a car that if you see the red light that you stop.
You would think.
And when you see the green light, you go. And when it's amber, well, you can make a decision based on your safety.
And I usually go, which is really bad.
So when you're looking at the traffic light system, it really is about where should we look at the evidence and should we go or should we not go? And so some researchers, actually a combined lot of researchers from all over the world came together to do this research where they looked at all of the evidence that's ever been published in the area of cerebral palsy. No small thing. Yep. So there were hundreds upon hundreds of research studies because since 2013 there's been an explosion of the amount of research that's been conducted. So everyone's trying to do their part. Right. But they're all bits and pieces. So when you pull it together, what they look at is they go, okay, what are the kind of treatments people are providing? What are the outcomes? And what does it tell us in general?
Right.
And so to help us to visualize all of this, they put it in relation to a traffic light system. Mm-hmm. And the traffic light system has green for go, amber for maybe do it, but have a look. And then they've got red for definitely don't do it. But they have this line, this worth it line. Is it above the worth it line? Mm-hmm. Is it worth doing to get the outcomes that you want to get? Or is it below the worth it line? It's not worth doing.
Okay.
So that's the first thing to talk about is the fact that we have this traffic light system that tells us for all different kinds of areas like early intervention, motor development, spasticity management, what should you be doing?
Yeah. I think I remember you showing me this when I first started at Strides with only because the question came up from my elders. They were saying, wouldn't benefit from getting massages or traditional massages? And they said, you'd obviously need to go overseas, find the right people to do it and so forth. And I think I addressed that with you.
Yes,
However, you showed me this bubble diagram.
Yes.
And it showed that I think massages was
below the worth it line.
Yeah. And it was like, obviously there wasn't enough research, I'm assuming. Is that how I understand
it? There's enough research to show that it's not as effective.
Okay.
So it comes across as not worth it for motor development. So if you're trying to improve a skill, something that you want to do, use your hands, use your feet, you want to, talk, whatever it might be, whatever involves a motor task, massage is not going to get you there.
True, I guess.
Massage, like for all of us, could be really relaxing. It can give you a nice calm state, like you kind of just spoke about before.
Kind of the opposite of what we want.
You might actually get the muscles to really relax for sure, that you might get those effects. But if you're using massage for the purpose of improving a motor skill, it ain't going to get you there. Yeah. You're better off doing something that's more targeted. So there's actually a whole suite of options above the worth it line. Do you want to know what they are?
Yeah, go for it.
Should we go? Okay. So the ones that have the big green bubbles, so the bigger the bubble, the bigger the greenness of it tells you that there's been a lot of studies done on it. Right. So what we're looking for is big green bubbles that say go for it. There is so much evidence here to say that it's effective in improving motor outcomes. Yep. And so things like mobility training, goal-directed training, partial body weight-supported treadmill training, strength training, bimanual training, so using your hands, following a very staged protocol, and task-specific training, all green bubbles. And so they all share the same principles of neuroplasticity, which is how our brain really rewires when we learn new skills.
Okay.
If we do things in a very certain way, using the most modern principles of motor planning, we will get good outcomes from it. So it depends on your goal.
Yep.
If you want to work on something, I would first look at this. And if that doesn't suit, then you start working your way down. But by the time you come close to that line, is it worth it or not? You really need to be considering, is this worth your time, your funding, that whole exchange?
That's true.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the ones that you did mention are what my little boy's been on.
Yeah.
And I guess I can see the progression in evidencing that it actually works.
That's really good. That's really good.
That's, very interesting.
And that's what you want to see. And you mentioned that your little boy as well was having botulinum toxin and some oral medications. So if you move over to the next section on this bubble chart, there's this whole area on tone. And what's above the worth it line, big green bubble, is botulinum toxin, which we know reduces spasticity. And that's exactly what we want. Botulinum toxins
to do.
Is exactly for that. Yep. The other things that are also there are some other oral medications as well. There's diazepam. There's other more invasive methods like intrathecal baclofen.
Okay.
People might have had baclofen before as a medication, but when you have it when it's sort of put intrathecally, so it's actually, goes straight into the thecal cavity space. So when you actually put it in your body, that has a good effect.
Right.
And then selective dorsal root rhizotomy for tone. So always knowing what the purpose of the treatment is for what you want. Okay. If you want a selective dorsal root rhizotomy to improve your motor skills in walking, well, it's not actually going to do that on its own. It will reduce tone, but then you have to go to the motor category and go, then how can I train motor-wise?
Right. Okay.
So it's not one thing
so it works
for all.
in conjunction with each other.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things that are in the green bubble. The other things that are in green bubbles as well is that's really common for cerebral palsy is your muscles get really tight, right? So you have botulinum toxin. Yep. But the other thing that you often might want to use is lower limb casting. So the combination of Botox or botulinum toxin, which is the official name, with like serial casting.
Yeah, we went through that.
You did? Yep.
We did do that.
Yep.
I think we did a couple of months of that.
Yep.
And we did it on both feet. Now, it treated him for a short period.
Yeah.
But then his heel didn't stay down. I think that was the main idea for those serial casting. Is that correct?
You try to get a little bit more range of motion. You stretch it, but you never want to do it for too long because if you do, then the muscle is not being used. Like if anyone's ever, unfortunately, had knee surgery or broken a leg and they have a cast and they take the cast off, they're like, oh my goodness, my leg's so skinny. Yeah. It's not really that they've lost fat there. You've just lost all your muscle. And so if you put a kid's leg in a cast for too long, they're going to lose muscle. And we want to always be building muscle in our kids with cerebral palsy.
All right. Yep. So that we only did that once. Physiotherapists thought that at the time was a chance to try.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we gave it a try and it wasn't that successful. So we've not tried it again.
And there's different things for different people for sure. And that whole idea is you make sure you measure the outcome for it and see if they get the range and also making sure that it's actually suited. So, some children will present differently. Some children have what we call dystonia, something that we can get into a little bit later in another episode perhaps, because dystonia is a big one. Dystonia is a bit different to spasticity. So, sometimes casting a leg when it has dystonia might not be as helpful. So it helps you to understand the body a bit more as well. So in a way, I'd say that's successful in understanding his body.
Understanding it, that's right.
And then you seek out the next treatment for then dystonia, and then you go down that path.
Yeah. I think that's what we did.
Yeah. So the bubble chart's a really good place to start when we're looking at what treatments are there. And that helps us to discern what you might find on the internet. You go, well, is this even on the bubble chart?
I know.
And if it's not on the bubble chart, alarm bells. That means it's never been researched before. And be really careful. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be the main platform to search the treatments that are available?
Yeah, we'll put a link of that.
I guess,
yeah, absolutely. That's a great place to start and a great place to start the conversation with your therapist because your therapist will probably know about this. It's the most influential piece of work we've had over the last few years and they keep updating it. So definitely look at that. That's the summary of all summaries because you don't have time to read thousands of research articles at night anymore. This is the place to go to as a starting point for that conversation.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good. And I guess therapists work in conjunction with doctors. So, if we do have any treatments that we do read up either from Dr. Google. I guess that would be a great, the bubble chart is obviously the great reference point.
It really
to confirm
is.
whether Dr. Google is right or wrong. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And Dr. Google can be helpful for the first part of it, but we just don't know where Dr. Google got its information from because people can put stuff out there and it shows you that as a result. And the good thing about this bubble chart is it tells you how the different professionals that you work with can work together.
Yeah.
Because it's got sections like, tone. So once you've reduced tone using the green bubbles, if you can, then you want to increase the skill, then you can go to the physio and go, okay, now that we've reduced tone, let's look at the stuff that will help us to achieve that goal.
That's true.
And there's things like self-care. What you spoke about that last week.
About dressing and toilet training.
Yep. And there's definitely sections there that we can talk about that too, where we know that context-specific training, goal-directed training, those are all really effective as well. And that's something that we need to think about. And home programs, really effective in getting that. So definitely be choosing those things as opposed to things that are below the worth it line, which we can talk about as well, what is below there. But
moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. We can focus on what actually works for now.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's a really great place to start. And it really just opens up conversation.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the bubble was the one that made me more understand of what my little boy's condition was.
Yeah.
And coming, like I said, from nothing to now understanding bit by bit.
Yeah.
And the references just, keep coming. So it's fantastic.
No,
it's
that's
a great
really
start.
good. Yeah.
Treatments, just like anything, takes time, right?
Yeah.
Is there like a definite timing to give it a go? How do we know, and will it hinder previous treatments?
Yeah, sure. So the timing of this is always really important. The first thing is we need to time it so that we ensure that the child is medically stable, that they are doing something that's developmentally appropriate.
Okay.
So you would time an intervention to target a particular area if it's really important for you at the time. So toileting, it's not something you're going to do when they're 1.5 years old.
Yeah.
It's something you're going to do at the right time for your child.
Yeah.
So the time is important because that's developmentally appropriate. But you would also only embark on things when you know it's a safe place to do. So it's time to do it, and they need to do that skill for a reason. We don't learn how to drive when we're 10.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we learn how to drive when we're a little bit older, when the brain's developed a bit more, and there's a reason to do it.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. So it's the same thing for our kids. So timing it from when they should be doing it.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at starting to learn to walk, a lot of kids start to get on their feet when they're 9 and 10 months. They start exploring it. We should be getting our kids at 9 to 10 months as well to start to get them on their feet, because it's not just about walking, it's about how their brains develop.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's very clear.
Well, that's good. Well, we've got that, I think, opened up a lot of other questions that we can get into.
Definitely.
But the main thing is what works. Well, we have this amazing bubble chart. Head to our website. We'll make sure we put a link for this for you. And you can see where the green bubbles are. Start with the green bubbles. We know that these work.
Yeah.
Let's go there first. And then from there, if you need to look for other things, you start making your way down. But stay above the worth it line, because if it's below it, we know it doesn't work. And it's not as effective, or maybe it's not safe. And so those are really important things to look at.
That's right. I mean, we do want to keep our kids safe.
Yeah.
So,
they shouldn't be coming to therapy and get harmed. That's not what should be happening.
And check out the bubble chart, parents.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. I hope that was really useful for everyone. We'll talk to you all again next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.